The minute you get promoted, you will no longer be the same person to your boss, your colleagues, or your new staff. In this episode, we will cover these changes and how to deal with them. Hi, I'm Rick Kendall.
And I'm Fred Ball.
Welcome to Management Mastery. The purpose of these podcasts is to share what each of us has learned about good and bad management during our 20 years of experience both as managers and executive coaches. During that time, we have coached managers at every level in companies from Fortune 100 to brand new startups in all major businesses, including nonprofits, government, and education. So whether you're just starting in your first management position or are an experienced manager looking to strengthen your management skills, we know our podcast will be valuable for you. Something that surprises almost every new manager is that suddenly people around them treat them differently. You may not feel you've changed, but the people around you will. So you need to be prepared for these changes. Now, 3 changes that we will discuss today are the perceptions and expectations of both colleagues and management, your working relationships with your peers, and finally, you'll become the symbol of your department, both within and outside the department. These changes may be subtle, but you need to be sensitive to them.
In this podcast, we're going to focus on individual relationships. And in the next podcast, we will focus on how to deal with your staff. One of the things that we want to remember is that building the outstanding relationship with your boss is paramount. So as we move forward to discuss how you're going to relate to former colleagues and so forth, remember that that relationship with your boss is first and foremost and most important. So if you're now the head of the same department, your former colleagues may now report to you. Some may not understand the role change and don't respond to you as they would to another boss in the same company. For example, they disregard your directions, or they don't have assignments done on time, or they don't participate in staff meetings. You may be tested either by people who want to stay close to you, finding out about how serious you will be about direction, follow-up, performance evaluations, and so forth. It's important that you make them understand your new role and their responsibilities.
If you're promoted within the same company, but from outside of your former department, you're going to have to build relationships with those people who are your new staff. Spend time with them and get to know them and build a relationship. That's going to be important. Just because it's the same company doesn't mean they're familiar with how you manage. And you want to build rapport with the stakeholders in the other departments that have an interest in or relationship with your new department.
One of the things that can happen is that you can find out that some of your current staff have been going back to your former department and finding out about you. It can be both good and bad. If it's good, it's fine. If someone is reporting back something that's negative, you're going to want to keep your eyes and ears open so that you know about that. Then if you're promoted from outside the company, it will be in some ways easier and it'll be in some ways more difficult. One of the things that would be really helpful is if you can find out and be sensitive to who the boss was before you, what their style was, how they were perceived. All of that information can be helpful to you as you move forward. Then you're going to have to deal with building new relationships with the entire staff that you have in the department. And you want to do that. You want to build working relationships fairly quickly, and then watch and listen to begin to learn who the high potentials are. In that process, you'll also learn how things are done around here. And then, as Rick said, the same will be true in all of these areas. You need to build rapport with stakeholders and other departments throughout the company.
Yeah, I could speak from personal experience coming into a new company as a boss from outside that company, how important it is to, as somebody said, keep your mouth shut and your ears open, and just to learn the vibe of the place and ask lots of questions, because you might find there are people who thought they should have had the job rather than you, or that they buddy up to you and really got the knives out, and you want to listen to as many voices as possible. The other thing that is really a problem, or can be a problem, when you become the boss, is relationships with friends, either friends at work or even more problematic, people who are friends, who are co-workers and friends outside of work. And it doesn't always happen, but there are people who will take advantage of that, or try to, by feeling that the assignments really aren't meant for them, that the deadlines aren't meant for them, etc. And it's important to deal with that very quickly and very firmly, and to make it clear to the person that cannot continue, that everybody is watching because they know of your friendship with the person and will be looking to see if they get different treatment. And if they see it happening, then that creates a morale problem, and that you have to communicate to your friend that it's up to them to fix the situation. That if they want to preserve your friendship, which you do, but it's up to them not to abuse it. So you got to deal with it quickly and firmly, because the longer it goes on, the harder it is to deal with, especially if you want to keep the friendship.
The importance to you is that you can't lose sight of the fact that you are now responsible for the work that staff do and do not do. Instead of getting assignments, you will be giving them and evaluating the results. And ultimately, you're going to be responsible for the results that are produced. One of the other things that's going to happen is that you're going to face a steep learning curve with all of these things, and you won't get everything right. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you use any situation that you look at and say, I would do it differently, and learn from it so that you progress as you move forward. Another area we want to talk about is that you are the symbol of your department. Every move you make will be watched by everyone in the organization, your clients and outside constituencies. They'll want to know how you're making decisions, for whom you're making decisions, why you're making the decisions, and people will be guessing what the implications are of the direction that you want to move. And all of these things are in the category of you're responsible for producing revenue and profit, and you need to know what drives the economic engine.
The other thing, part of being the symbol of the department, is what you as an individual do reflects on the entire department. So if your work is sloppy, the department is going to be seen as sloppy, even if they're not. If you're late with delivering results, it will reflect on the entire department. So there is that extra burden that comes with being the symbol of your department, being the overall manager of your department.
You're going to need to model the culture, and if there are changes that need to be made in the culture, you need to make them, and the ethical guidelines of your department and the firm. You're going to need to set and communicate a clear, compelling direction, so that which helps to understand how to achieve success within the company, operations, and workflow. And then it's going to require you to build a strong team with complementary skills, hire talent that raises the overall level, and retains and grows staff. And one of the other things is that you're going to have to set high standards and accountability, both as a producer and as a very good team member. And in most companies, the way that people are evaluated is that there's a certain percentage given to producer and a certain percentage given to whether someone is really a good team member. And I just want to say one other thing about your role in championing, exciting, motivating, and inspiring staff. People sometimes get the sense that In order to do that, you have to be extroverted, probably a little bit loud, and maybe in people's face. And that's absolutely, totally not true. Rick and I could give you example after example of people who are basically introverted, and what they do is they show how they excite, motivate, and challenge people in many other ways. For example, how hard they work, the creativity of the ideas that they come up with, and the new product areas and direction that they can come up with. So there are many different ways that you can show how you motivate, excite, and challenge people.
So what we've covered today is really the three things that will happen when you become a manager that often managers don't anticipate. And that is that you will be perceived differently. Your role will change. People will look at you differently. And that affects how you interact with your former colleagues who may now be your direct reports, with your boss, with your boss's boss, who may now be peers, and the fact that you will be a symbol of your department and all of that means. So we've covered this in terms of relationships with individuals. In the next podcast, we're going to talk about how to deal with the group as a group. We hope you have found this podcast useful and will come back again for more management mastery. If you have comments or questions about this or any of our episodes, or would like to find out more about our other services, including one-on-one coaching and group seminars for managers, visit our website at careercoachclass.com for information on our courses, as well as links to our LinkedIn and YouTube channels. Thanks for listening.